Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the film The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift from 2006. Now, you might be wondering why I would be reviewing what many probably consider like one of the most forgettable films of the Fast and the Furious franchise. And I can't really blame them, because it's not like it's a good movie. But there are two reasons this film is kind of sort of important, or at least it is right now. First off is this is the first Fast and the Furious film directed by Justin Lin and written by Chris Morgan. Justin Lin would direct the next 4 Fast and the Furious films, including this one. He's basically the one who transformed the franchise into a dumb movie with a bunch of dumbasses with cars and shit into a dumb movie with a bunch of dumbasses and cars and shit, but globetrotting and doing bank heists and all sorts of ridiculousness. If you ever wondered how we went from the first one to Fast 5, Justin Lin is the answer. He's incredible at making these ridiculous action sequences. He's very good at it. He understands that he's making fun, silly movies, and he really puts that into his direction. He's the reason this franchise has not died, and he has directed more Fast and Furious films than anyone ever, as of right now. The other reason is because in terms of the canon of Fast and Furious, this film takes place between 6 and 7. So this is actually the film that takes place before the new Fast and Furious film that's coming out, Fast and the Furious 7. I'm very serious. This is a real thing. I did not make this up. It actually does take place after 6 and before 7. If you're seeing Fast and Furious 7 or Furious 7, even though 6 was actually first called Furious 6, but whatever, this is the film that takes place before it. I'm really not making it up, but it seems ridiculous, but that's how they worked it out. A young man named Sean Boswell, played by Lucas Black, no relation to Lewis Black, I think. He gets in trouble for street racing, of course, and he's in high school, and then instead of going to jail and serving a sentence as an adult, even though I think he's 17, his mother decides to send him to Japan to live with his father. And so he is shipped off to Japan and goes to a Japanese school, and he is told he can't street race anymore. But then he meets Twinkie, played by Bow Wow, and he eventually shows him cars and street racing and introduces him to drifting after he has a pretty disastrous car race. Han, played by Song Kang, takes him under his wing and shows him how to drift so he can beat the people in racing that have made fun of him and who have beaten him pretty badly in street racing, until Han is killed and Sean has to find a way to get himself back and win in the amazing street race and eventually get the girl. This isn't really a good movie. It's kind of odd that they brought Justin Lin back after this, to be honest. I'm kind of surprised. I think he didn't really exude confidence. I think he directed it better and with a lot more fun and fervor before they got to Japan. The opening car race is amazing. Lucas Black has this amazing car race with the kid from Home Improvement, Zachary Ty Bryan, who is best known from Home Improvement as the oldest brother. For some reason, they let play a high school student in 2006. I really don't get that or understand how that's possible. He's not in it that long, but it is a little like, isn't that the guy from the oldest brother from Home Improvement? He's got to be in his 30s at this point. That car chase, they drive through this community that's being built in all these houses that are kind of construction sites and in the process of being built, and he actually drives his car through one. That part was amazing. I actually thought that's the best car chase in the entire movie, and it shows what Justin Lin could do with like not having a bazillion dollars like he had in Fast 5 and Fast and the Furious 6. It's a great sequence, and it really makes the movie pop right at the beginning. And everything with the high school stuff, I think he did a really great job. He does a kind of poppy car racing type of movie, and it really works for the film. It gets you really into it. Unfortunately, and I actually have this problem with the film called Fast and Furious that he also directed, they have too many car racing scenes at night, and although that's something that the Fast and Furious films like to do, often with this one and the next one, it was just like too dark and you couldn't really see what was going on. Although it worked in Fast and Furious 6, so I guess he perfected it. Drifting itself isn't actually that cinematic to watch. It's a little boring. The best drifting sequence is when Lucas Black's character of Sean drifts through this huge crowd of people to kind of make sure he doesn't hit anyone, and I thought that was really well done. The rest of it, it's like, I'm sure it's cool to be in that car and to see it live, but I don't think they really captured that through the movie, and it doesn't look like the most cinematic thing. It doesn't look like you could really capture it as well. I didn't really feel like they honestly did, and I think that kind of hurts it because there's really not a comparable car racing scene after the initial one. That's kind of the best one, and after everything else is subpar, which is the same problem I had with his next one. And I think he got better where he's putting sequence on sequence on sequence, and if you notice throughout those, most of the chasing sequences are done during the daytime. They stop with that night bullshit. Although plane sequence in Fast and Furious 6 worked amazingly well, so they got better at it. And I think there was a couple in Fast 5 that worked, but the ones in this one and Fast and Furious don't work at all, in my opinion. I don't think they're fun, and you can't really see exactly what's going on as well, so I think that does, when you have these bright, colorful cars, you want to like see them move around. That's part of the fun. Now, how this film is 6th in continuity, but not in release order, makes sense with this. Han is the key to all of this. Now, Han dies in Tokyo Drift, but then Han shows up at the beginning of Fast and Furious, and even says, I heard they've got a lot of cool stuff going on in Tokyo. And so you kind of think that means that the events of Fast and Furious takes place at the same time as Tokyo Drift, which is fine, which kind of connects the Vin Diesel part at the end of this film. Vin Diesel has a cameo at the end of this film. So that's how Vin Diesel knew Han. He kind of insinuates he knew him, which doesn't make sense because they only have like one opening car chase with Han in that film. So you're kind of like, how does that work? But whatever. Then Han came back in Fast 5. And at the end of Fast 5, when he hooks up with Guy Gadot and him and her have that relationship in that film, she's like, oh, I thought we'd be going to Tokyo. And he's like, oh, we'll get to that. They're setting up in each of the films after this that Tokyo Drift has not happened yet because Han is not dead, or he's a clone, which I think that would have been cool, but he's not. So then at the end of Fast and Furious 6, we see the events of what happens with Han, which is during a street race, he gets hit by a car and his car blows up and all this stuff. But in Fast and Furious 6, they make it out to be that Jason Statham is the one who killed him, and he's the brother of the guy Owen Shaw from Fast and Furious 6. So that's the explanation behind it. That's how it works out, is that all these films, he just never got to Tokyo, but it kind of makes sense in Tokyo Drift because he's really mournful. He has a lot of money for no reason. How did he get all this money? How did he get this prominence? How can he just like not really give a shit about anything? It feels like he lived a life. And so, in a way, it kind of makes sense only for Han's character, because they do a bit of revision with the end of Fast and Furious 6 having Jason Statham kill him. I did see, however, in the Wikipedia for Fast and the Furious 7, or Furious 7, that Lucas Black is in that film as Sean Boswell. So this all kind of connects in a nice little bow. The Fast and Furious films do like having continuity, and if you have watched them, it's all there and you can understand it. You don't actually need to know the continuity. It's really kind of just for the fans. They're in there just for the fans, but if you are not a fan of the films and you just pick up Fast 5, you can follow it perfectly. But it's not going to hurt that you don't know where Han is from in Fast 5. But it's part of the fun for the fans. I like that dynamic through it. It is a little silly that they keep Tokyo Drift within the continuity. They don't have to. It's the least well regarded. It did the least amount of business. It's kind of like the Friday the 13th, the next chapter kind of thing. You know, the one without Jason, or Halloween Part 3, the movies where the main people aren't there because none of the leads are there except for Vin Diesel at the end. Now, Vin Diesel at the end made an incredible deal to be in this movie where he said he didn't want to get paid. Apparently, this film got really bad scores at test screenings, so they wanted to bring Vin Diesel back at the end, and he said, I will appear in this movie as long as you give me the rights to the Riddick character. And Universal was like, yeah, we didn't really want that anyway, so cool. So we don't have to pay you. So that's how he got the character of Riddick. He owns the character of Riddick. That's a Vin Diesel thing. Lucas Black is actually Southern, but it sounds like he has a fake Southern accent, like he's like an English actor trying to do a Southern accent, but he is actually Southern. He's a really bad actor, even for the Fast and the Furious films. I like Han actually. Han actually does have a pretty good presence in this film, and you kind of end up liking him the most. It's also Bow Wow's alright. Everyone else in this film is pretty horrendously awful, and it's pretty forgettable if it didn't have that opening sequence and didn't have Justin Lin and Chris Morgan being introduced to the franchise. Nobody would really give a shit. I wonder if they kept it around because that's the film they came in on and they kind of just wanted to keep it going. It's kind of a weird thing. Maybe it's a joke. Clearly they've put in a lot of dumb things in the Fast and Furious films, so bringing up Tokyo Drift isn't too much of a problem. If you haven't seen this film and you're into the Fast and Furious films, I suggest just giving it a watch. At least the opening sequence is so worth it. Everything after that, I'm really not as into. It does have Sonny Chiba in here also. Not doing any Sonny Chiba-esque stuff, but he's in it. I kind of really reviewed this just because I thought it was bizarre that this film would take place after 6. Like, why would that happen? I just find that kind of fascinating that they'd move it around in continuity, just kind of like Temple of Doom. That intrigues me a lot, and it's kind of made me at least watch this another time and give it another watch, and I think I actually liked it the second time more than the first time. More of it annoyed me, but I still like that opening sequence with the kid from Home Improvement. It is kind of a very stereotypical mid-2000s junky, poppy, kind of dumb movie. It's not a good movie, even for films that really I'm only liking for their stupid ridiculousness. This film doesn't really succeed on that. It doesn't live up to that. Really, if you want to see what Justin Lin can do with the Fast and Furious films, you should see Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6. That's really when he hit his peak with those films. The first two really aren't as much fun. Tokyo Drift kind of just gives you a peek at that and leads you in and go, maybe there's something to this Justin Lin guy, especially in that opening sequence. It's not a good movie, and if this weird continuity hadn't been the way it was, I wouldn't be talking about it and no one else would. It has its little moments, but there's not enough stuff there to really keep this film around, even though the Fast and the Furious films have decided to anyway. So if you have seen The Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift, and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to. Check out my other Fast and the Furious reviews in my Fast and the Furious review playlist, which will have an annotation below. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.